Welcome back, everyone. So today is going to be a different kind of painting. It's going to be dark, like a moonlit cliff in a tree. Now, this is my last 8 by 10 canvas panel, so after this I'm going to have to go get more of them. But yeah, hope you all like. So let's do that. So all I pretty much did is just start with just a mixture of black, this kind of, what is that color? Awards blue color, and then just white at the bottom later on. Now, if you're looking for inexpensive paint that really works well, or at least for my purposes, just look up Apple Barrel. You can get that from Walmart or a lot of craft stores, but there you can pretty much get it from there for pretty much the cheapest. They're like 50 cents a bottle. The more higher end ones might run you up a couple bucks, but whatever. I mean, the paint lasts for a while and it works. So, just got done with the gradient colors and just spackling in, or whatever you want to call that, the starscape. Now, when you're trying to do distant, like hills and mountains, the one thing you need to do is it has to, well, the farther something gets away, the more it fades. So you just fade it more towards whatever background color you have. In this case, it's like a blue, black, whitish color. So I'm doing the gradient colors as they come in, getting closer to the viewer, which means they get darker. And this is honestly a really simple painting to do. Most of the bottom part of the canvas was taken up by the cliff, so I don't have to do a lot of like background scenery, which, you know, that's kind of like a bit of a cop-out, but in the end it worked out. Now I had 3 different versions of this design that I drew out on a piece of paper, which you won't get to see it here, but this tree was actually supposed to be cherry blossom, but it just didn't look right in the dark unless I was doing some sort of like ethereal thing. So it ended up becoming more just like a moonlit tree. But there's 3 different designs, and one of them I'm probably going to do on one of my 16 by 20s, and then we'll see about the other one. The other one's like a river piece, but in this case it's just a moonlit cliff and a tree and some, you know, a little bit of grass and rocks floating around, and you know, just to give you something a little bit different. In here, just adding a little bit of highlight to the side of the cliff, and emphasize that there's some texturing there, maybe some rocks sticking out, or just different layers of, you know, soil and rock and ground and whatever's in there. It's just different gradients of a mixture of like black, white, blue, and a little bit of gray in there. I mean, well, the black and white make gray, but if you wanted like a specific gray color, I do have that. But in this case, I just used primarily that blue color, black and white, do a little bit more of like a moonlit color, like that blue moonlit color. And like I said before, it really wasn't that hard. It's just basically just random, you know, brush strokes to get a little bit more texturing in there. And I've actually made a lot of progress with my painting and doing a lot more of them because of this whole virus thing going around. I got a lot of downtime, so I'm gonna have to go get some more canvases. I mean, I still have plenty of the 18 or the 16 by 20s or 18 by 20s, whatever these are. But, you know, if I want to do these smaller ones, which are quick and easy and I can get a lot of good practice in, I'm gonna have to go get more. here I'm about to start painting in the rocks. It's just another, well, it's actually just that straight gray color, and I do a bunch of texturing on top of these rocks, and all the other rocks are there. It's just, the more random you make it, the more realistic it looks. Is one of the things I found with painting, because like I said in some of my other videos, I used to do a lot of comic art, and that's all very kind of straightforward. Just if you paint and you draw something, it looks the way it looks. But with painting, it doesn't have to necessarily look perfect, as long as it just suggests that something's there. Versus like with my comic art, I always had to kind of fight to make sure that something looked proper. I mean, the reduction is really the kind of art of that. Taking things away and having your mind and eye make up the rest helps with like comic art. But with this, really the only thing you need to do is suggest that something's there with a different type of color, unless you're specifically trying to be really detailed. But in my case, I'm not that detailed, but I'm just putting paint on the canvas and it suggests that there's something there. Oh yeah, and I updated my DeviantArt page a bit. I still need to update my Patreon, but I did update the DeviantArt page with a bunch of the artwork I've already done. There's still a bunch of artwork I have yet to upload, but I'm going to get to that, eventually. But I'm terrible with updating those websites and my like profiles on there, but I'll get to it. Oh, here I'm starting to paint the tree. It's just straight black right out of the tube. I'll add like some highlights and some shadows a little bit later to give it a little bit more depth. But it's, like I said before, this is really simple. And you all, if you've been watching my channel, you've seen me do basically these black silhouetted trees before in like the painting panel project. So this is something I'm used to doing. Now, I'll say if you're trying to do like an abstract tree, you don't have to add as many branches and details in there, but this isn't really meant to be abstract, so I'm adding as many little branches in there as I could. Obviously, skipping around and doing highlights, but the more detail you put into something, the better it's going to look. Unless you're trying to do like a reduction sort of thing and then have the mind's eye make up the rest, which technically speaking, even if I was painting, perfectly and being as detailed as I want, it's still not going to be absolutely perfect. So your mind will still make up the rest of it. Now, I debated for a while on how I wanted to do the branch or the leaves in here, because originally, like I said, it was supposed to be a cherry blossom painting, but I'm like, I've already done too many of those, and it just wouldn't look right. So I decided just to go with, again, the black silhouetted like tree leaves and branches. But in this case, just added a little bit of highlights here and there to kind of emphasize that it's, I mean, if you're outside in a bright moonlit night and you let your eyes adjust, nothing's truly black unless it's like a shadow. So you can still see and move around out there. And this is kind of the feel I was going for. Like, you would still be able to see the leaves lit up by the moonlight. So this is what I was doing. I was just layering on shades of this blue, black, white color. Though one thing I discovered is if you put saran wrap down on a dried canvas, you can paint all over it all you want, and get an interesting, you do different colors and different types of whatever you're trying to paint on there without messing up your canvas. I didn't know why I didn't do that before, because I used that method for this to try to figure out how I wanted to do the leaves. It was originally you just straight up black, and then I went to, I did cherry blossoms, then black, and then I was like, the black looks better, so then I ended up just painting it directly onto the canvas like you see now. So just going back through with my line brush, adding a little black little lines just to indicate that there's like branches and some twigs and little parts of the tree sticking out. I'll go back through later with a little bit of that grayer highlight and try to highlight them a little bit. It just gives a little bit more to the painting than just leaving them just completely black. And if you're wondering what that's on my finger right there, that's not a cut or a wound or something. It's just red paint. I have this crimson red that if I ever wanted to do like blood splatter or something on a canvas just because, or ever wanted to do like Halloween makeup, that crimson red would be perfect for that, because it looks like when it dries, it looks like dried blood, and when it's kind of faded out like it is on my finger, it kind of looks like I got a big old part of my skin missing. Anyway, here I'm just painting in more highlights. It's just a mixture of the same colors as before. Just try to follow the contours of the tree trunk down to its the roots that are sticking out a little bit. Okay, so if you are ever trying to figure out a way to painting grass in an effective way that doesn't going to take forever, then just take like one of these brushes. If you have a big old, well, I don't even know what you call this brush, but all I did was just, wet the tips of the bristles with paint and just go from the bottom and kind of run the brush up. It gives a really good impression of grass. And if you watch some of my other videos, you've seen me do that in the past, like the kitty paint project, the Mount Fuji, Mount Fuji series, all that stuff. If I have to put grass in, I'm doing it this way, because it's really effective and it's easy, and it doesn't take forever. If I use like a line brush, I'd be in there forever just painting each individual blade of grass, which that's fine if you're trying to be extremely detailed, or you're trying to make something that just look a little bit different. But in this case, no. And here I'm using my fan brush to try to put a little bit more detail in with something smaller, so that way I'm not just like painting over the rocks and everything. So the fan brush is a good alternative to that. All right. Other than that, all I have to do is sign it. I hope you all like. Please leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, all that. Helps me out, helps keep the wife happy, since this is all for her. I appreciate you all, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye.